Head of the UN dodged questions on New Zealand's bid for a seat on the Security Council during a visit to Auckland yesterday. New Zealand will be contesting a seat on the Council next month alongside Spain and Turkey. The problem is that only 2 seats are available, so what are New Zealand's chances? Otago University International Relations expert Robert Patman joins us now from Dunedin. Good morning, Robert.
Good morning, Michael.
So, what do you think our chances are? 3 countries competing for 2 positions.
I think they're competitive, and I think the government and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade have done their homework. They've been planning for this for a long time, and they've clearly been canvassing the members of the General Assembly. They probably need 130 members of the General Assembly. Remember, there's 193 members in the General Assembly to secure one of those 2 spots.
And when you're up against much larger countries, do we have a slight advantage in the sense that it's probably seen as a good idea to have some small countries on the Council?
I think there is that sentiment involved, and it's also related to that. It's some time since New Zealand was last on the Security Council, back in 93, 94. But I think also there is a sense of frustration amongst the medium-sized countries and the smaller countries that the majority within the UN system do not always have their views reflected in the UN Security Council. And by that I mean I'm alluding to the veto which is wielded by the 5 permanent members of the Security Council. And one of the ideas that Mr. McCulley developed about 2 years ago, and this is part of our bid for the UN Security Council, is to curb the use of the veto by the P5 group, the Permanent 5 group. And so I think that would appeal to quite a lot of the membership in the General Assembly.
Ban Ki-moon is not saying much, is he, at the moment? Is that just normal, that he can't say a lot about our attempt to get on the Council?
I thought he handled that very well. I don't think he can say much. He can't be seen to be leaning towards New Zealand over Spain or Turkey. At the same time, he went out of his way to praise New Zealand's contribution to the UN, particularly in the areas of peacekeeping and human rights and also development aid in the Pacific. So I think within those constraints, he did a lot to indicate that he was warmly disposed towards the UN, towards New Zealand.
There is quite a bit of cost and a lot of time. I think you were telling me that our application effectively has been goes back to 2007 and Helen Clark. It's a lot of time and some money, no doubt. Is it worth it to get on the Council? Well,
to be fair, I think the preparations go in different phases, Michael, and I'm sure the preparations, although set some time ago, I think they effectively gather momentum as the date approaches, and I would have thought the efforts intensified more in the last 18 months than over the entire period since 2007. But I think New Zealand has made a point of not throwing money at the problem. When Australia ran for the UN Security Council, it's currently on the Council, it spent something like 30 million. And certainly you can expect Turkey and Spain to spend comparable sums, if not more. I don't think New Zealand will be doing that. We are making a virtue of the fact that we have no axe to grind. We're not members of particularly big organisations such as the G20 group. And we like to present ourselves as a country which has an independent foreign policy and can offer fair and impartial advice.
Do you think our experience in 93, 94 was a worthwhile one?
I do. I think there are sound, pragmatic and principled reasons for being on the Security Council. First of all, we have economic connections all around the world, and we depend critically on exports to make a living. And being in the Security Council makes people aware of us. It gives us a visibility we don't otherwise have. And also, I think New Zealand feels, like many small countries, the UN has been marginalised by events like in the Gaza, Iraq, the Ukraine, and it's a high time that the UN function much better. At the moment, it's dysfunctional in the sense that many pressing problems are ignored because someone in the Security Council wields the veto. If that veto could be restrained, then perhaps the organisation could function much better as a whole.
OK, thanks very much for your time. That's Robert Patman there.
Thank you.
International Relations expert from Otago University.